This is taking into account the loan deposit ratio of, well, Tier 1, which is loans in Florida and Arizona and everywhere else, not Valley County. So I don't know that this FDIC chart is really applicable for Valley County. Well, and Russ, as a banker, maybe you can, I've been out of the bank for a little bit here.
Well, if it's okay, I'll expand upon that.
Sure. Get a mic.
You can't hear me?
No.
All right.
You don't have Vaughn's carry.
Sorry, now can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have Vaughn's carry, and I apologize for that. I did have a question. I did have a question as far as the 81% loan-to-deposit ratio, and I guess what you were trying to come across with that, because I know you're a former banker, and you can probably find this figure for me, but in my 25 years in banking, I've yet to find a figure where banks report the amount of loans that they make in a particular county. They do deposits, but I've never found the loans. So as Vaughn said, this is a very skewed figure here because it takes into account a $2.2 billion bank. But
as you see in the headline across the top of the graph, it says banks chartered in Valley County. I don't think First Tier, or whatever the name was, has a charter in Valley County.
No, it doesn't say that, sir. It says Valley County, Nebraska banks chartered by FDIC loan to core deposit ratio. And there are 6 banks, by the way, 2 of which are headquartered in Valley County. And I can assure you that their loan to deposit ratio is not 81%, those 2 banks.
Well,
I can assure you that.
Anybody have access to the internet? We'll look it up on the FDIC's site right now. As a matter of fact, there only were, I think there was 3 banks back in '92 with charters in Valley County. And as I recall, it was 2 banks at the end of 2008. So First Tier has no impact on that ratio at all. Their numbers will only reflect on where their home county charter is at, which is Omaha or somewhere. So they're not skewed. They represent the 2 banks that are here. And it was a deputy bank examiner, the Nebraska state system about 4 years ago, that walked me through the FDIC's call report system. So I'll be glad to show it to you. And
I would like to see that, please.
And to tell you what, if people are interested, I'll pull down the entire report, the 2 call reports for the 2 banks, and show the numbers. And then we'll put out an email blast so the whole town can see it.
Yeah, it'd be email it on.
Yeah. It's only the banks that have a charter in this county. The headline's confusing, excuse me.
Ron, I don't believe you've had
I'll come on a
question. Okay. And we've been here, we're going on 2.5 hours, so we'll take one more question after this.
Okay, I just, everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I've been sitting back here, and there's one comment you made earlier that I feel I have to address. And it's when you were talking about your granddaughter had to come at 6 o'clock for a student council meeting. I think you made the comment, correct me if I'm wrong, you said we have a time problem rather than a space problem. I think that's what you said.
That's right.
Schedule.
Well, it's fine. You were getting the point that kids are involved in a lot of different things. Yeah, I agree. I would contend that the reason we have a scheduling or a time problem, as you were referring to, is we have a space problem. The situation you were referring to is the reason she had to come at 6 o'clock, probably for a student council meeting, was we had a morning basketball practice. Why did we have a morning basketball practice? We had probably a junior high game that night, so we had, in order to get 2 varsity practices in that were decent, we had to go in the morning for one, after school for the other, and then we go junior high basketball. Our small gym, as we call it, does not meet the criteria of the practice gym, people. There's no way it meets the criteria of a practice gym for a varsity team. Kurt alluded to it. You cannot get a decent varsity practice in the small gym. No way. And you're asking our basketball coaches to practice in that thing where they can't get a decent practice. Okay? The small gym will not do it. Now, something that hasn't been brought up, and I deal with it in the fall for volleyball, I deal with it in basketball. Our locker rooms that we have to use our visitors for, to tell the truth, I'm embarrassed. And I am. I don't think a lot of you don't know when, let's just say we got a volleyball triangular, okay? We have to put one team in the, what we call the old girls locker room. Visiting teams call it the dungeon, and that is the truth. You ask Broken Bow, you ask anybody, oh, we got to go to the dungeon. Well, the dungeon is the old girls locker room, downstairs, steep stairs. So that's one team. We got the second team that comes in for our triangular. I use Nancy Wilniak's English room. We do not have another locker room because our football boys are down in the high school boys locker room. Our girls are in our high school locker room. Our junior high boys are in the junior high locker room. We got to use an English room. Okay. Basketball season. Okay. Same thing. We put them down in the dungeon. If you guys go down there on any night in the wintertime, I'll guarantee you if you took the thermometer down there, it's probably 85 or 90 degrees. Because it's right next to the boiler. Okay? So what we have those teams do is, just to get them out of the heat so they don't have to go down there at halftime, we put them in Nancy's English room. So they don't cook. I mean, it is hot. I'm not kidding. It is hot. You know, I'm embarrassed to put people down there. I really am. And it's a problem. And, you know, I don't think a lot of you understand that. And in fact, we've got some teams that anymore, they either want to cut varsity or JV game times to 6 minutes. Because every other school we go to in the conference, we play girls and boys JV, say at 4:30, 5, girls varsity, boys varsity. We can't do that at our place. We got to start with girls at 4, boys at 5:30. By the time we get started with the varsity, we're lucky probably if it's 8:30, if not later. Hopefully we don't have the overtime games.
Let's get a question. Okay,
I just got one other thing. We've got, if you look at our schedule, we've got 3 games. We don't play JVs because primarily those schools don't want to play JV because they got long trips. You know, so we lose out JV games. Okay? We've got problems in that respect. It's not a time problem, a lot of it. It's a space problem. If we could get our varsity practices in from 3:30 to 5:30, both of them, same time, we can't do it with small gym. It does not meet the criteria of a practice gym by any stretch of the imagination. It doesn't. You ask any basketball coach in any school, they would hate to practice there. They couldn't get anything done. Okay, so if we had a, you know, you say we don't need the gym, we don't need space. We do. We get our kids done by 6:30. They can go to play practice at 6:30 instead of 8:30. They don't have to come in the morning at 6. They can come at what time you did, at 7. And it would help out tremendously. We need the space. I mean, when you say we don't need the space, we need the space. It's a definite need no matter any way you cut it.
Can I address a couple points and you can finish up, Larry?
Sure.
The high school I went to in 1974 in Iowa, back when we had a 2-class basketball system, so the lower class was playing up a bunch of bigger schools. They won the state championship in 1974, and their sole gym, it was a private school, but their sole gym, from the baseline around, was about 1.5 feet around to the wall, all the way around. We had to use other gyms to play the games in. A friend of mine in Elkhorn, Nebraska, and I don't know if this is still current, but 2 or 3 years ago, she said the Elkhorn, I think it's a swimming team, routinely wins a lot of the state championships in their class for Elkhorn swimming. They don't have a pool of their own in Elkhorn. So part of it's a value system, you know, your coach. His value and understanding and belief of what's needed and so forth versus other people's, that's what each of you are going to have to decide what's most important. But I think often that kind of sacrifice is what can build a fighting desire. And I saw it with my peers being laughed at for this rinky-dink little gym and these rinky-dink lockers, and they won a state championship the next 2 years. They're right up there, second and third. So adversity sometimes can help students. Not.
So did we. Yeah, we want to take care of you. And we came early, and it was adversity, and we're not saying that that takes away from
Point
kids.
made. Thank you.
We did, and we are doing it. And Ron is right. It is a space problem.
And that was the last question.